Hello and welcome to another episode of All Things Gender Equality. And today's topic is going to be about uniforms. I'm Suji, the host for today, and we have our lovely guests here, Geet, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Geet. I'm an intersectional feminist, poet, and teacher, and I'm excited to be here.
Alright, so let's start. Have you ever had a situation where you had to wear uniforms? And if yes, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, we're from the Malaysian education system, and we've always had strict rules when it comes to uniforms. I remember many of us wanting to be prefects and wear that blue shirt and tie and blazer and skirts because we didn't want to wear the pinafores, which didn't feel right in our bodies and we weren't confident with it and it was a little outdated. So yeah, we had very limited choices. Like, of course, you could be a librarian or a pembimbing rakan sebaya, or there was always the baju kurung version of things. But even in these limited choices, we were very creative and we loved exploring like all our choices, right? And I think that tells you something about how students want to differentiate themselves, want to express themselves, want to find who they are in how they navigate the world, right? And in this conversation, I think it's also important to go beyond clothes and think about accessories, our hairbands, hair ties, the watches, socks, shoes, even our hairstyle, our hair color, how we did our nails, right? And there were so many strict rules, right? Like you could only have blue, white, and black hair ties and hairbands and watches. Even your watch had to be smaller
than 50 cents.
Exactly. So there was all these strict rules. So I think when it comes to the conversation of uniform, we have to talk about bodily autonomy, which is trusting someone to make decisions about their body, about their choices, right? Trusting them that they can make the best choices about what makes them feel happy, comfortable, safe, right? So that's actually the bigger conversation in play.
We have established that students want to have that choice, want to have that bodily autonomy. So we should essentially let students choose what kind of clothes they want to wear, what they're comfortable in. But that means we're talking about gendered uniforms. And in our systems, boys wear pants and girls wear skirt. And clothes essentially don't have a gender.
Yeah, true. We push gender stereotypes on our clothes and in turn stereotypes on our students. And we box them up, we limit them, we restrict them. They're not happy, they're not comfortable, they're not safe. It's a problem, right? Because if skirts are an issue and girls feel more comfortable wearing pants, why is that not a choice? And if you're thinking about history, historically, there was a period of time where women were discouraged from wearing pants in public, right? There were repercussions, there were consequences, and a lot of women and a lot of people in general fought for their rights to wear pants. And it feels silly to us today, now in this generation, in the 21st century, but that is where we came from. And so I think we owe it to all the people of the past who fought for self-expression, right? Who fought for just more comfortable wear to keep their legacy going and to fight for students, for people to be able to wear whatever clothes that make them feel comfortable so that they can be their best version and, contribute to the world in their best, in their maximum potential, right?
Yeah. So essentially, clothes do not have a gender. So that means uniforms can be gender neutral.
True. We have to talk about gender neutral uniforms if we're talking about uniforms, right? And I think the world is moving forward. Like recently I heard in the news, Virgin Atlantic, this international airline company, is dropping its gendered uniform policy, and their stewards and stewardesses can choose whatever uniform that best represents them, that makes them feel the most comfortable. So I think we are heading in the right direction. I mean, in general, many jobs itself are very laissez-faire about what you can bear to work as long as you're doing your job. So yeah, I think we have a lot of progress to make, but we have made progress, and we can celebrate that.
I guess it's certainly a potential that we can look forward to, for Malaysia at least.
Yes.
Maybe not now, but maybe in the near future.
Yes, we're having this conversation, aren't we? So yeah, it's looking hopeful. All we have is hope, really. So let's get there.
There's this discourse that's saying that certain type of clothing lead to higher risk of harassment.
Oh my God, that's like an awful, ancient talking point, right? To like blame clothes for sexism. And there's this online gallery called What Were You Wearing, where they document what survivors were wearing when they were assaulted, and it's all kinds of clothes, right? The whole spectrum, from mostly covered to more exposed. There are people all over the world in all kinds of countries and settings where they have very different views about clothing, who have been harassed, who have been assaulted. And so it's never going to be about the clothes. It's going to be about the cruelty inflicted by other human beings, right? And we always talk about what could the survivors have done to protect themselves, but that's not where we should focus the conversation. We need to believe the survivors and protect them, but we need to talk about the perpetrators. We need to hold the perpetrators accountable for their horrendous actions, right? And so we have to understand that this will ultimately always come back to the systemic issue of sexism, about people not understanding how to respect their bodies and the bodies of others. And I think this, goes back to how we were raised even, right? Like growing up, children were not taught about bodily autonomy or boundaries or consent or self-expression or respect in that sense, right? We were forced to hug and kiss relatives, right? Children are forced to wear certain clothes and certain hairstyles. Children were not taught about the exact terms of their body parts, right? Even when someone was bullying you in class, they would say, oh, that person just likes you. We normalize disrespect. We normalize entitlement. We normalize a culture of victim blaming, and that is unacceptable, right? And so these children grow up feeling like their bodies are not their own. Your body is not your home. It's like an Airbnb decorated by rules, all these restrictions, all these people. And so you disassociate, and yeah, you were never given the tools to respect your body and other people's bodies, and now we have all these problems, right? And so we really need to raise a generation that is way more aware and way more considerate and way more educated in the topic. And again, of course, like these actions, like harassment of any kind, assault of any kind, is unacceptable, unjustified. Like sure, we can say like, yeah, we could have done this, we should have done this, or they had reasons, but it's never going to be justified. So perpetrators need to be held accountable, need to be held to a higher standard than what we have right now, where we don't even talk about them. We're busy talking about clothes, and the clothes being the real like perpetrators, which is just like, if you take 2 seconds to think about that, you would know that that doesn't make any sense, right? If we take like our 2 brain cells and just like actually think,
that's not it, guys.
That's not it, right?
And like how like a year ago there was like this brave student, Ain Husniza, who spoke about her PE teacher who made rape jokes, and this really opened up a whole new discourse on this topic.
Yeah, I think that was very brave of her. We stand with Ain and all her efforts in bringing light to this issue. Really proud of Malaysians for coming together and like having this conversation about sexism, right? Ultimately. And even on Instagram, I would read stories, like raising awareness on all these experiences of students and, harassment or assault back when they were in school under the name Save the Schools MY, right? There are over 500 plus stories there. So, like, the proof is there. If you open your eyes to what is happening in the world, like, it's bad out here. For anyone, really, like, safety is not a guarantee out here. And so, we need to talk about these issues and we need to look beyond the clothes to the root of the problem here, which is sexism again. Yeah.
Right, so we are almost finishing. Any final statements that you want to wish to reiterate?
Yeah, ultimately, I'm really happy we're having this conversation right now. I really hope more people would take it beyond this video and into their daily lives, into their schools, into their families, right? Like, I want parents, teachers, students to be having these conversations, to read up about this topic, about our history, and to think critically, to be educated, and to not be afraid of finding new solutions and trying them out. Whether it's going to be good or bad, you wouldn't know. So, like, let's be open-minded about the possibilities that a more diverse, a more free, a more beautiful world that cares about bodily autonomy can look like in the future, right? And, like, personally for me, I was a student who really loved expressing myself in a way that was beyond the norm, right? And wearing clothes that make me feel good, it's like my creative outlet. It makes me happy. I feel safe, I feel comfortable, and I feel like I was denied that in school. And so for myself and all the students who feel like this, like they don't belong in the clothes that were pushed on them, I feel like we owe it to ourselves to have these conversations and to do better.
Wow. Well, I hope the best for Malaysia, and I hope that I still have many more years here and I will be able to witness all the good changes in terms of gender and clothing. So that's the end for today. Thank you, kids, for that beautiful sharing. And I'll let them talk a bit about how to find them.
Oh yeah, I'm really active on Instagram. You can find me under the handle mx.geet. So that's Mixed Geet, where I like to share a lot of my opinions on a multitude of issues. So if you're interested in that, please give me a follow.
Yeah, so I'll put that in the description as well. Thank you so much again. Thank you for watching and bye!